Hello, and welcome to Nurtural Disasters. This is a podcast for those of us with toxic or emotionally immature parents. We might not have a bunch of credentials next to our names, but we do have PhDs from the Hard Knocks University. Basically, we want this to be a validating space for adult children of parents who had no business having children.
Welcome to Nurtural Disasters with Ken and Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Ken.
What's going on?
Well, sadly, I didn't watch a lot of her shows, but Hayden Panettiere just died. She passed away recently, and the more that I find out about her, because I didn't really know a whole lot about her background, but I felt like I really need to talk about this with you, and I feel like this could be a really good episode, a cautionary tale of a narcissistic parent.
I definitely get what you mean. I have watched a lot of her movies and her shows, but I didn't know a lot about her relationship with her mom or even her dad. I did know her relationship with her brother. She was very close to her brother. So when he passed away, she was kind of like teetering. Like she wasn't even in a pretty good shape. I think she was just like, I think people that have heard about her struggles with addiction and her issues with postpartum depression, I think once she kind of kicked that a little bit, I think her brother was kind of like her one constant. And when he passed away, I think it totally disrupted I don't want to say all her happiness in her life, but the positivity in her life was kind of gone.
Yeah, I guess he died like 3 years before her. And wow, everything that I find about her and what her mom put her through. And it's very reminiscent of I'm Glad My Mother Died.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about when I guess this book came out. And I think I didn't get to read it. Well, you did the audiobook. You're almost through it. I was listening to the Jay Shetty podcast. It was like a 2-hour podcast, and she reviews a lot about her life and her demons that are all featured in the book.
So there's something I did want to bring up. When in the Jay Shetty podcast, which I also saw, did she seem medicated to you?
Do you mean in terms of maybe she was on an upper or?
No, opposite. She was
something to calm her down? The
way she acted, it was, I don't want to say delayed, but she did not look sober in the sense that maybe she was in a lot of maybe antidepressants or anti-whatever. And I noticed that too when I was listening to the audiobook. And she had that same tone, cadence, to the point where I had to speed it up. Because at the one point, I put like 1.25 and then just to get it to normal speed, because I felt like she might have been medicated when she was narrating the book.
So you're saying that she's kind of like slow in her reactions and stuff. Even the way she talked was kind of like slower than what a normal person would be.
Yeah, but it was lately, because if you look at any earlier interviews, she talks normally. She's obviously sober mostly, well, except for the parts that I read where she was a teenager. They would give her these quote unquote happy pills, which is Adderall, and she's like, she felt, I get not happy, but she was energetic and gave very lively interviews. But this is the opposite of that. I don't know what she was on. And you could tell she was troubled.
It could be, if it's anything to deal with her, if it's a downer, like maybe alcohol, depressant. I don't know. I didn't see that. She did discuss that she does have pretty bad anxiety. And I'm not sure if the manifestation of anxiety probably mixed with maybe like for me, I take like Ativan. So it doesn't slow the way I talk. See, I still talk with a regular cadence. I think the only thing that might affect my talking, and this is from someone that has, taken prescription drugs. I have taken SSRIs, which I'm still on, taking Ativan. And I'm also taking Adderall. So I think the only thing that you see a difference is when I take Adderall, I might be more talkative than usual. But that's not saying much. I am naturally a talkative person. But I think actually it helps me with my focus. So I could stay on tasks and conversations much better. But I'm just like a chatterbox. Like my mind just keeps working. But I don't know. Everybody's kind of different with how they react to these medications. And I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if there's a toxicology report that's going to come out with how she passed away. I think a lot of it, what they said was there was no foul play.
Yeah, it's still really early. Yeah, she only passed away like 2 days ago, and everyone's like, the speculation is that she overdosed, right? She had substance abuse problems.
I think her boyfriend even mentioned that she was probably on cocktails, but that's not confirmed because honestly, I read that in a New York Post article. So I'm not sure. Honestly, New York Post, I'm not sure if it's a legitimate newspaper. I really don't think so. So it's like you have to take that with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Because a lot of rumors are coming out and like half truths, to be sensationalist or whatever.
It's crazy, the stuff. I was like, I don't want to go on like just how bad like New York Post is, but it's just they're putting all this stuff out and her body is still warm. So I'm like,
I know.
These headlines are just ridiculous. And a lot of these are New York Post and stuff like that. This is awful stuff. They're trying to do clickbait, and I could understand what they're doing, but
it is clickbait.
Awful stuff that they're.
Did you read about they're saying that in her apartment they found Narcan? I mean, not that it was used, maybe it was in a box, but just the fact that they said, oh, the police found Narcan in her apartment. I mean,
the speculation is that New York Post said that her boyfriend at the moment was saying that she had like a bag of pills. So that's insinuating that she is on a lot of drugs or abusing drugs, insinuating. But honestly, a lot of people have a bag of pills. So I'm not sure if that's just how they picked that line out of everything and just put it in the article. I'm like, it's because she had a drug problem, isn't it? She had an abuse problem, and this is what they want to focus on. They want to find, oh yeah, she probably passed away because of, bag of pills. A lot of people have a bag of pills, so that's not anything to anybody else. They say passed away to a bag of pills. Let's say like there's like an 80-year-old and and they'd be like, oh yeah, he passed away to a bag of pills. I was like, no shit, Sherlock. A lot of 80 years old take a shitload of medicine. So,
yeah, she was so troubled. And at that Jay Shetty podcast, she seemed very vulnerable.
Yeah, it broke my heart watching it post fact, knowing what happened. And you can see like Jay Shetty is. I love Jay Shetty podcast because he's a good interviewer. He tries not to interject too much. It really seems like he's very attuned to whoever his guest is, because they talk a lot about a lot of it's a lot about personal stuff with his podcast and philosophical things, and he kind of lets them talk a little bit. And it does really seem that Jay Shetty, when he had that part where it really got to me, is they were like hugging before I kind of like the podcast interview, and I think he sensed like a sort of kind of like sadness or something was off, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was vulnerable. I think he even said that she was kind of vulnerable. And knowing what we know now, it's just, it's heartbreaking to see that.
It really is. And I've been listening to her memoir for the past couple days. I love my celebrity memoirs. It was actually at the bottom of my list. But when I heard her passing, I was very intrigued after everything that I was reading about her life. And, I was like on a road trip to the Central Coast in California. So I was like, okay, I want to listen to this. And is it very interesting? So the prologue of the book, she says her daughter Kaya, who's 11 years old now, she dedicates pretty much the book to her daughter. And you can tell she really loves her daughter, but she just can't get over her own mental illnesses, her own mental health issues, not illnesses, but, she says, Kaya didn't ask to be born into the limelight or my chaos, and she didn't choose her parents. When she said that, that was like, there's a wisdom and there's a self-awareness to that, right? Because a toxic parent would never think to say that.
I think she knew that she was not able to give her a good motherhood to her daughter, and I think she was willing to let her. I guess they were never married; they were engaged. But Vladimir Klitschko, who was probably much known for, if you're into sports, like he was like boxing champion.
I read part of the book where they have their first date at the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
He honestly, in the world of boxing, he was one of the guys. Like everybody knew who he was if you follow boxing, and even just casual sports. This guy, he's larger than life. And the crazy thing is, she's really tiny, so he looks like a giant next to her, and he's really a big guy. So it didn't seem like it was like almost like a mismatched couple, like
that
an
always
odd couple.
Happens, though. Tall guys love short women, and
but it's also like they don't look like they're a couple either. Like he's Ukrainian and she's like blonde hair, blue eyed, right? It's they can't look any more different.
Yeah. And it's funny because like all the pictures of her with her ex-boyfriends, they're all at least a foot taller than her because she's only 5'2".
Yeah, she's really short, so that's the reason why.
I feel attacked. As a fun-sized individual.
Well, are you 5 feet tall? Like, she's like 5 feet tall, and I think that's like
she says she's 5'2" on a good day. I think that's what she said.
I think that's embellishment. I think that she might be like 4'11" or 4'10" or something like that.
That's her Hollywood height, right? Because there's like a Hollywood age where it's like they pretend to be like 10 years younger. Like supposedly Beyonce does that, and who else? What other rapper? Nicki Minaj. She said she was 28 when she was really 32. Like some shit like that, right?
So how old is Beyonce now? Like 57?
I mean, she looks so good that she can get away with being like, I'm 22. And I'd be like, well, yeah, you do. She looks great.
She looks great. I don't care.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah. But like, oh yeah, going back to Hayden. So yeah, her Hollywood height, I guess, is 5'2". But I'm closer to 5. I'm 5'2" and 11/16, actually. Wow. I heard that.
What?
Wow. You're okay. You're like, I heard that.
I'm not laughing at the 5'2". I'm laughing about the freaking fraction that you put on back of it.
Well, no, hey. No, I take what I can get, okay? If that's what the scale says, I'm just spitting facts.
I'm sure she's 4'11". She was 4'11", so
she's shorter than Shakira, because Shakira is like, she's shorter than 5 feet.
I mean, there's I think there's even a Wikipedia thing on Hayden. I think I remember reading she was 5 feet tall, like even. So I'm thinking she's even shorter than that.
Okay. She's so cute though. I mean, not wait, but I think she has really beautiful eyes. And even when she was a kid, she had these big eyes.
She had like the prettiest smile. I think it's a smile where she's, I'm not sure. It's just like a very happy smile, which ironically probably hid like a lot of the pain, right?
And you know what? It's one of those smiles that like it reaches ear to ear. And I will say about it, it's funny because I read a chapter about when she was losing her baby teeth as a kid, and her mom made her go to the dentist and basically like harass the dentist because she couldn't get an appointment. And to fill in the gaps of the baby teeth when she would lose a baby tooth. And she said when she was for film, it was okay. I think she was on the show Guiding Lights. Actually, it was soap opera. And but for commercials, you have to have like perfect teeth. Apparently, I didn't know this. I was just listening to her book, and apparently, like back in that day, in the early 90s or mid 90s, Chicago was the big place to shoot commercials for some reason, maybe for whatever reason. And her mom got her it was a retainer, and it has a tooth in it, and they pasted it with that what's that paste that I hate to say this, elderly people when they have dentures and they
it's
pink paste,
something Bond.
I'm blanking on the name, but like that's what it was, and it filled in the gaps in her teeth like that. And then she said, but the problem was that it gave her a lisp. So when she go out, so like she had perfect smile and perfect teeth by all appearances, but then she'd talk like this,
You know what the crazy thing is? Like, I know they wanted perfect teeth, but there's something about a charm about a little kid losing their teeth and they have a little gap right there.
It's so cute, right?
It's very cute. I'm not sure. There's probably psychopaths and even that commercial making too. So
we'll get to that.
Oh God!
That's going to probably be part 2 of this because I think this is going to be a 2 episode. Anyway, oh yeah, with the teeth, but there was a lot of pressure, and her mom was just like, basically there was a lot of enmeshment, and her mom, total fucking narcissist. Yeah, and I have this theory, Kenneth. So I think that most stage parents are narcissists. The whole, I'm a momager. And I'm like, you're just everyone knows they're living vicariously through their own children. And this one was no exception. She talks about her mom was an actress herself back before she had children. And she was like in New York, because Hayden is from New York, or like 40 minutes outside New York City, and then back and forth into the city. Her mom was in a play. And there's an interesting story in the book. It talks about her mom was in a TV show with Bryan Cranston before he made it big. So when Hayden was auditioning for this one guest starring role in Malcolm in the Middle. And the role was about the neighbor. It was a neighbor girl around Malcolm's age who was really nerdy. And she had her daughter say, she told Hayden, "Oh, when you do the audition, tell Brian that I want to meet him," because she found out that Brian was also directing that specific episode too. You know, because Bryan Cranston was also the dad, but he worked up to the point where he was directing. Maybe that just one episode. I don't know. Anyway, so she said she really did not want to do it. She was super embarrassed by it. So she's like, she practiced this audition and she was really too pretty to be a nerd, quote unquote, you know, because she was too conventionally beautiful or whatever. So she says, I did the audition. And at the end of the audition, she goes, "Oh, my mom wants to meet you." And then she's like, you could hear a pin drop in the room. Because you don't do that. Like usually parents, I didn't know this, but parents are not supposed to be in the room when kids are going like doing their audition in front of the producers or directors or whatever. So it's very, what would the word would be? Kind of
taboo.
It's taboo. Yeah, whatever. Tacky. Hayden remembers being super embarrassed. To the point where even Bryan Cranston was like, "She does? Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, she's waiting outside. She wants to meet you." Like she said it again, like with a big smile, like trying to be, even though inside she's like dying of embarrassment. And Bryan Cranston goes, "Okay." And she said, "I think he was trying not to be rude." Because in real life, I guess I've heard that he's a really nice guy. Especially you don't want to be mean to a child actor. So I guess he opened the door and peeks out. And he's like, her mom just ran up to him. He's like, "Oh my God," and hugs him. "Do you remember me? We were on a TV show together. Da, 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 da. Oh my God, it's so great to see you again." You know, the whole like schmoozing. And that actually got her the part.
It worked.
It worked.
It worked. So
it worked. And then even Brian told her, like, "Your daughter is completely wrong for the part." But because they wanted like a brunette, you know, more like nerdy looking, more like probably like Big Bang Theory looking, you know, not someone more conventionally attractive like Hayden. So, but they did it. And her mom, it gives insight into how manipulative her mom is, you know, how she's willing to exploit anything and everything to get her daughter. I mean, her daughter got far. I know a lot of, just living in LA, a lot of child actors, and they do not get as far as Hayden. I mean, even with parents who are just as pushy and stuff, but I think her mom had this extra layer of manipulation that narcissists just I guess innately have, and was able to get her daughter like that. So it gives insight to it. Her mom was not a big fan of the book. Not shocking. Took umbrage to it and said that Hayden was making up her bisexuality, because in the book it talks about like her liking of other girls, and there's like this awkward scene in the book where she like puts her hands down another girl's pants, and like her dad walks in on her like when she's like 8 years old, stuff like that. So if anything, I'm actually making like the book seem really interesting, because it really is. She's had a very interesting life, a very difficult life. Well, I probably, you know what? I should probably go back and talk about this one chapter where Hayden is 19 and she's on the show Heroes at this point, making good money. She bought a condo in LA where she's living with her parents and her brother. And she feels kind of cramped. And then she realizes, you know, my mother and I are very enmeshed. Maybe it's time that my mom just becomes a mom instead of being a momager.
There's that part where it's almost like we reviewed the Michael Jackson movie, and it's the "I'm your mom, you're fired" thing.
Yes, it's very reminiscent of the Michael Jackson scene, to the point where that's the first thing that came to my mind when I was listening to the audiobook.
But the thing is, it's different in a way where she wanted to fire her mom, so her mom was no longer her manager and just her mom. She wanted her to just be her mom. It was totally fine. I remember what she said too afterwards. "You owe me." What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I could not have been, if she wrote it as a smear piece for her mom, kudos. But just based on how her mom's reacting to the book in general, and just how she reacted to her death, this is definitely a person that's not normal. Okay, so we're dealing with someone that's not a normal person. So we have to keep that in mind. So it correlates with what she said in the book is likely true.
Yes. Yeah, when I saw the book, she was in the trailer at NBC Studios, and she's like, I want to get this over with. And she was super nervous. I mean, her mom was basically, I think she's probably so pissed that she just said, you owe me, and just ran out of the trailer, just like stormed out. And she said that her mom, when she would be really mad at her, would do like the thing with her chin where she would just kind of like an underbite, like a clenching her jaw, like trying to swallow her anger. And it was very uncomfortable because, for example, with Hayden, where she would go to all these auditions, if she didn't do well in an audition, her mom would get so mad that on the drive back home, which would sometimes take 45 minutes, over an hour, and just be fuming, and would just give her the silent treatment, which is, that itself is like psychological abuse. So she knew, for a child to be given the silent treatment, that is so horrific. You will do anything and everything not to experience it. And since her mom's love was so conditional, that she would she would try to please her mom, to try to do these perfect auditions, and to the point where she was able to. It's like Michael Jackson, right? Is that like he demanded perfection from him to the point where it's like, if anything wasn't perfect, beatings. I don't think her mom ever beat her. She never talks about that. But you want to do whatever you can, to please your parent.
She wanted something different. And it's interesting because her firing her parent was in a total different mindset than Michael Jackson firing Joe. I think in her case, she actually wanted to have a better relationship with her mom. Like, she wanted her mom not to be her manager or / agent. She wanted her to just be a mom. So she thought that, I'm thinking at that mindset, she's thinking, hey, you don't have to be my agent anymore. You could just be my mom. And I think that's what she was thinking. The mom didn't take it that way, though. She's like, I don't want to be your mom. I just want to manage talent. That's it. I have no emotional attachment to you. You just happen to be someone that I gave birth to, that I signed as a client.
Yes. And you can, unfortunately, you can tell it was that kind of like boss-employee relationship versus a mom-daughter relationship, which is very common with narcissistic mothers, and specifically,
especially stage moms. She's the worst of stage moms.
One of the worst ones. I mean, I've heard some pretty bad like horror stories. Obviously, like Jeanette McCurdy's mom. Mm-hmm. She might be a little bit worse. I mean, it's not like the Trauma Olympics or anything, but Jeanette McCurdy's mom was a little bit kookier. But then again, I don't know how much Hayden revealed, like how much she really, if there's stuff that she just held back to not make her mom look bad. Because even in the beginning, in the prologue, she says, I have no ill will against anybody. I'm not doing this to slander anybody. I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to make anyone look bad. She's like, I've even changed the names of people just so they don't, even though, I mean, she got done really, really dirty by a lot of people around her, and she still uses a pseudonym. And that's what she says. So I'm wondering if she held back about a lot of things about her mom, whereas Jeanette McCurdy with I'm Glad My Mother Died, she just exposed every fucking thing to the point where I was like, oh. So it's like, you have to wait until your parent actually dies to expose all that, because like the parent will just retaliate. I mean,
well, I think in Hayden's eyes, like, she was hoping that one day, even like a small, slim chance that they could reconcile. But there's no reconciling it, depending on, if you're dealing with a narcissist like that, I'm guaranteed that the mom is a narcissist.
Oh, yeah.
There's one part in there that she was saying, what was it? She was saying her mom said that she sacrificed her career for her. Mm-hmm. And her response to it was, wait a minute, I didn't tell you to sacrifice your career for me. And it just reminded me of, if you talk about Dr. Romney, she had this one chapter in her book where she's like, something about a narcissist that I think Dr. Romney was saying, it's like narcissists picking you up from the airport. And they're in the car, they're telling you, it's like, well, I had to leave a party for this to pick you up. And then you as a normal person would be like, well, you didn't have to do that. I could have just got a cab. But no, no, it's fine. It's fine. I had to pick you up. I'm willing to sacrifice it to pick you up. And it's always these things with narcissists where they're telling you that they sacrifice something that you didn't ask them to sacrifice. And this I was like, that right there, that's like sacrificing her career. I'm thinking a lot of it is her mom was like at best, a mid-tier actress. Like, she couldn't get a lot of roles. She had some soap opera roles here and there, TV shows. She was by no what, by no means even like a C-list actress. Like she was a what do you even say about that? Like Lisa, like she had like an okay career. Like she had some things, she had some credits, but it's like her daughter, by the time her daughter was probably like 10 years old, had more credits than she did. Was more prolific than she ever was.
Oh, yeah. She was definitely no Hayden, and she definitely lived vicariously through her daughter. And I think she saw her daughter's potential because she saw how beautiful of a kid she was, how photogenic, just how she saw the charisma right there.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I don't want to discount the mom, because there was old pictures of hers, like her stills and stuff like that during her prime of her career, and she was a pretty lady. So something just doesn't work out. Sometimes you can't just be pretty and just, like, go through Hollywood successful. It takes some other stuff too. Some not so great stuff, like seedy stuff too. So unfortunately.
Yeah. But, obviously, I think her mom was pretty cognizant of the fact that, like, there's ageism. Let's just call a spade a spade. Hollywood is very ageist. So her mom probably being like, in her 20s, having a kid and realizing, I'm going to age out of this industry. And after a certain point, there aren't a lot of roles for women in particular. It's like, you're the young hot chick or you're the soccer mom. There's nothing really in between. It's very difficult unless you're like a super A-list, like Nicole Kidman or something, or whomever. But I think when she saw her daughter and she's like, this is potential, because she has like, whereas Hayden's mom started as an adult actress, whereas like, if it could start this one as a kid. And also, remember, narcissistic mothers or parents, they see their children as an extension of themselves, like an appendage, a limb. Seeing her daughter's like, oh, she's a part of me. Again, it goes with that. They don't have that separation, individuation. So, this is a continuation of my career, but I could start again anew as a young person. Right.
Exactly. So it's like success by proxy.
You're right.
And honestly, her mom wasn't going anywhere. Like, her career wasn't going anywhere. She wasn't getting like blah, blah, blah opposite Tom Cruise. She wasn't getting that.
Not the plum roles. It was...
Heck no.
I mean, she did it wasn't Broadway, but I guess it was plays, but yeah, right.
That's great. I know people in community theater too. So
yeah, I live in LA. I know a lot of actors. You're lucky if you get a second callback where it's like, oh my God, I have a second whatever. I'm probably not even saying it right. But like, to get something is so hyper competitive. And
she saw something. She saw something special in her daughter, and her daughter had success. So it just kept going and going. It's like, wow, she's getting all these roles, huh? She's getting very successful. Mm-hmm. It looks good on me.
Yeah, right. And she pushed her daughter too. Like, she demanded perfection, just like Joe Jackson. You have to know your lines inside and out. That level.
It's that correlation too. You just saw like there was just no emotion there. It's just, you do well, and that's good. You're supposed to do well.
Yeah.
There's no love or anything there.
It's conditional. And Hayden knew that, because if it was a bad audition, she didn't get a part, her mom would basically like withdraw the love. But when she would get a job, there was one where she got, what was the show? They offered her like on the spot after the audition. They offered her the role, and her mom was so proud of her and like hugged her. So it was conditional based on how well she did. So Hayden knew the only way she knew she was going to receive love was by getting the roles and being perfect. And it set her up for failure later on in life, as we'll see, because it made her a people pleaser. And she says it in the book, to the point where it's like, in order to receive love, you have to betray yourself. And that puts her in a lot of really bad circumstances, especially dealing with a lot of sketchy people. Ken, you were saying there's a lot of really shady people in this industry, and they exploit the fact that you have a hard time saying no because they know you were trained to be a people pleaser because you had a difficult parent. We talked about this.
It's just people she's also trusted in the industry that she thought were her friends, and they steered her in the wrong direction. It's horrific. Do you remember the story about her like partying on a yacht, and then like she had a friend direct her to like a room on the yacht, and then when she gets in, it was just a guy in there that she didn't name, and he was like naked, ready for something. And that's just like, oh my God.
I have a lot to say about that.
Ooh, that's just.
I feel
So
like
what do you guys say?
that's a whole other episode. I see. That's the thing. I'm just wondering if like this should be part 2, because I just finished that chapter and it's chapter 23. So it's very interesting. I went down a rabbit hole on, social media. A lot of,
Speculations?
well, people are putting 2 and 2 together, right?
People try to be internet sleuths.
Well, and to the point where they have the receipts, though. As women, we love our murder, right? There's even a whole South Park episode. I've even heard podcasters make fun of it. Like, why do women love murder so bad? And they're like, oh, it's because women, they could figure out who the killer is within the first, 2 minutes. But it's kind of true, because all of these influencers on Instagram and TikTok, they're like, okay, so this British singer and this Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, she's not an actress. What is she? Entertainer, whatever. So she had a mega yacht, just like in the book, and the timeline aligns, and they were friends, and da 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 da. So oh my God. Okay, should I start this, or should we?
No, you could give it in the next episode. I think this is an episode that we want to talk about her recent passing and just her relationship with her mom. So
okay, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. Not with this. I was really surprised by how close she was to her brother, given that her mother was a very toxic person. Because usually when you have a narcissistic parent, they favoritize one child, they will scapegoat the other child. They just triangulate the shit out of their kids to the point where their children are not close. But she was so close to her brother. And she talks about her brother being very, 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 such a sensitive kid, to the point where he couldn't even sleep alone in his own bed. He would ask his parents, oh, can I sleep with you? It actually reminded me of my own brother, because my brother was a very highly sensitive child, and he would come into my room and say, can I sleep on the floor next to you? Because he would be so scared. And I'd be like, yeah, sure. That level, that really, I found that really interesting. And I'm glad they were able to have that close relationship, even though I would probably think that her brother, is it Jensen, would think that Hayden was the favorite, because Hayden was the one being taken. But she got all the attention from my mom. It's she's going through all these auditions, going on set, on location. All the attention is focused on Hayden, to the point where it's the brother feels neglected, ignored.
Yeah, so pretty much I think the dynamic is everything revolved around Hayden and her career. And makes me want to think, during this time, I think there was allegations against her dad that he was abusive towards the mom. And I'm not sure how many, I'm not sure how legitimate those claims are.
She addresses that in the book. She's on the set she's in her trailer, and her boyfriend at the time, Milo Vertimina, whatever his name is.
Who was also a cast member of Heroes.
Yeah. So he comes into her trailer and goes, where's your dad? And she goes, what do you mean, at home? He goes, he's in jail. It was in the papers, or it was in the media. And she was just like, what the fuck? And he's like, what for? Why would he be in jail? Domestic violence. And she goes, the way she describes her dad, he's not a violent person at all. Usually when there's a narcissistic parent, there's the passive parent. He was the passive parent. But the whole incident was that they were even the night before, they were in an industry event. The mom had been drinking, because I guess her mom had to have her Merlot every night. And the father had previously cheated on the mom, Lesley. I guess this incident where her mom, Lesley, in the party, she saw one of the people she knew was hooking up with someone who was not their partner. And she was like, I'm going to tell them. And her husband said, no, stay out of this. It's none of our business. So get that escalated. They went home. I guess at 4 a.m, her mom, they had been fighting so much that the mom called the police, and they showed the police that he had done something to her physically, but he had already left at that point. And when he came back, the police was there, and there wasn't really, I think it seemed like she was making it up. From what Hayden was, the way she wrote it, she said I think her mom had kind of embellished, but she said she knew her mom she regretted saying that to the police. Hayden actually had to bail out her dad from prison. I could tell she loves her dad, but I think he also worked a lot. He was a firefighter. So he himself was gone a lot and whatever. I just thought that was interesting. She does not believe it was domestic violence.
I think with her dad, like her dad loved her unconditionally, so it just at least gave her that. So I think that's why she's very fond of her dad. So even until like her passing, I think she never really said anything bad about her dad. Like he was just a hardworking guy.
Yeah, and a lot of people noticed too that when she passed, it was her dad who went to the media and said, "Yes, my daughter has passed," and it wasn't her mom. It was a dad.
I feel like we should just wind down the episode and talk about like who said what after her passing, and it's just as you expected, right? The mom didn't say anything about her sadness about her daughter passing. What I got out of it was she blamed her current boyfriend for being a bad influence on her, and she's like fighting through her demons. That's not usually what a parent says about their kid when they pass away.
Yeah.
That might be something like a past agent or publicist might have said.
Yeah, the whole point was, yes, I was reading an article just today, just literally like 2 hours ago. Her mom's like, oh, her boyfriend, I guess it was on and off boyfriend. He, it was a lot of finger pointing instead of like, this is my daughter, dude. The amount of heartbreak that this would cause me, like everything else would just seem so inconsequential to the fact that if your own child passed away, right? But her mom is like trying to finger point and make herself the victim. And that's the thing.
Yeah, it's just that lack of emotion. It's that lack of even feigned emotion. It's that lack of even talking about your daughter not being there anymore. It's so kind of like perverse. At that point, if you looked at it, it was like, oh my gosh, what Hayden said about her was right.
Yeah.
Just proved it right there. I'm not sure if she just, some narcissists don't have very good self-awareness. Like they're not very good at even feigning emotion. So, and this is a clear like admission that she was like that. Like she was devoid of emotion, devoid of like empathy towards her daughter.
Yeah, you can tell there's a lack of connection or something.
It just got me so mad because I kept trying to dig for more and more information. And I'm like, this is what she said? This is her daughter. This was a kid that she had, and she was around like her entire like her life. Like most of her career was, with Hayden, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could. I do sound kind of like angry. I read that. I'm like, that's it. This is what you said about your daughter. And honestly, like I immediately was looking around, and there are people that have barely met her in passing that left better kind of like dedications or kind of like eulogies than her mother did, which is very disturbing, by the way.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I just want to say one more thing. I was like, I thought the thing that Vladimir said about her with how they might have broken up, but he still kind of loves her and they're still friends, and her memories go live on with their daughter. And he wants to give the daughter the best of memories about her. And I'm like, that's exactly how you would commemorate someone's and celebrate their death, right? Not what the mother said. It's just so disturbing, Lisa. It's very disturbing.
It is disturbing, 100%. I mean,
my own child. It broke my heart. It broke my heart.
Me too. And when you think about this 11-year-old daughter, she's going to grow up without her mom. I mean, she already grew up without her mom because of circumstances. But the first thing I would do, if I were Hayden's mom, Lesley, give a statement, heartbroken, whatever. But my focus would be completely on the daughter, Kaya, that's her name, and make sure, she doesn't feel like she grew up without a mom. But again, toxic parents don't see that. And there's a saying, right? No one plays the victim better than someone who caused the damage. Toxic parents, they get super offended when you express how you hurt them. So, man, I meant to say this. I meant to bring this up about when Hayden said, maybe you should not be my manager, just be my mom. You don't have to worry about finances now. You can live a life comfortably and you can just be my mom. You don't have to worry about this very awkward relationship. And her mom took umbrage to it. And it's like with toxic parents, you've noticed this where it's like you express how much they've hurt you and their reaction is to be defensive and get mad. How dare you be hurt by something that I did to you? It's so... their ego is more important than it's just the most important thing for them to preserve their ego. And that's what Hayden was dealing with.
Yeah, that's just the thing. The thing about the mother is, well, I hope she's lived a very happy life, because, you know, like, the thing that made her relevant is now essentially gone. So
Yeah. And she has like the typical narcissistic mom face and body where she's like tons of plastic surgery. Like,
oh my gosh, does that remind? Did you see a picture of her recently? Does it remind you of your mom?
I was just about to say that.
Good Lord, like her lips. What happened to her lips? Not your mom. I mean, talk about like Hayden's mom. Oh goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I showed you a picture of my mom, and you said it was like bad. It just looked really bad. And the same with Hayden's mom. You can tell it's just desperation. It's like, I need to look like I'm 22 again.
Well, usually it's not normal when your lower lip looks bigger than like 3 times the size of your upper lip. Like, that you see right there, it's just like, something's off there.
Yeah.
She might have got some of the butt fat.
Maybe the Kardashian treatment, you know?
Oh my gosh, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just
awful.
It's just awful.
And she mentioned something else that actually reminded me of my mom, where it's like her mom would dress inappropriately for her age, where they would go to industry parties and her mom would dress like with super low cut tops and get drunk in front of all these industry people, and it would embarrass her. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely me. She wore like these skimpy outfits, and I'm like, you're in your mid-50s, you know, pushing 60. Why are you dressed like that? Yeah, it's like almost like they're competing for attention against their own daughters.
It's the weirdest thing, really. You're competing with her, but you know, she's an extension of you. So where does it end and where do you begin? And
you know, I haven't figured it out.
I don't think a lot of people have figured it out.
That's the weird thing. It's like, yeah, you're an extension of them, but at the same time, they see you individuated enough where it's like you are their competition. It's so fucking weird to get into their brain. Oh my God. Anyway, you know what? Why don't we just dedicate this episode to her daughter, Kaya, who, as far as we know, she's the innocent bystander in all of this. She did not ask to be born, just like Hayden said. She's going through all this shit, and for us, we're just thinking about her, you know, and I hope that Vlad, her ex, is taking good care of the daughter. I mean, we don't know. We'll find out when Kaya grows up and then she maybe writes her own memoir. But let's dedicate this episode to her. Because
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very somber kind of occasion. I think for a lot of us that are millennials, we kind of grew up with Hayden her entire career. I remember some of the movies that she was in, and you definitely remember her in like Heroes, and it was just, you saw her entire career, and we didn't even bat an eye to think how much she was suffering. We saw news that she was having a lot of like her inner demons and drug issues and alcohol issues to numb that pain that we didn't know she was going through. So it's a very somber and kind of like it's a very depressing end to a story that should not have ended that way. And that's the story of her life. But to think that she willingly gave up her daughter so her daughter will have a good chance of growing up away from that emotional or kind of like mental damage that her mom caused to her, that maybe gave her daughter like a chance to grow up with a father who could always be there and at least grow up some sort of normal way, because she couldn't provide that for her daughter. That takes a lot of self-awareness, and it's very, in my mind, unselfish. And I think she really wanted her daughter to grow up differently than she did. She wanted her daughter to grow up as a kid, the childhood that she never had. And she knew that the best chance that she had to like have that life was with her dad, away from her, where she was just still struggling. She's still an active actress, but she was struggling. And you could tell over the last couple of years, she was struggling very badly. So to have that awareness to give her daughter a chance at growing up normal and growing up healthy, that's a really wonderful thing. And unfortunately, she won't get to see her daughter. If you're spiritual, hopefully she sees her daughter and she's content with how her daughter grows up. But if you're not spiritual, this is it. Like, she gave her daughter like the best opportunity to grow up, and it's very sad that she passed away. And as like someone that's a millennial growing up with her, it's almost like a common thing in your life just disappeared. And we've had a couple popular celebrities that we grew up with like pass away. I remember last year when Michelle Trachtenberg passed away, and I was like, wow, it's like all these people that are a big part of our lives are gone prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of screws with her head a little bit, doesn't it, Lisa? It just screws with her head a little bit.
Yeah, I actually went to school with Michelle Trachtenberg, so that's...
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. And you look at that, I was like, wow, thank you for entertaining us. Even though you're in such emotional pain, you still, you did your job. Your job is to entertain us, and we enjoyed your work. And
yeah,
it's really hard to put into words. I don't want to say it's like having someone close to you pass away, but it's someone that you have watched and enjoyed work from have such a tragic end to her life. And it's just like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
There are no happy endings in here, right?
Yeah. I get it. And I don't hold it against her. I just want to make it clear. When she gave up her daughter, she gave up custody of her daughter because she suffered severe, postpartum depression. And I don't judge her for it.
I think it's great self-awareness, Lisa. Some people might say it's selfish to give up her daughter like that, but it's...
No, not at all. Because
no, absolutely not. She was very self-aware of how she was.
But I can see why other people don't think it, because
unless you live through it, you don't know.
Exactly. It's easy to judge when you don't live through it, but whereas, okay, we all know a lot of teenage pregnancies are like, just give it up for adoption. And they do. A lot of them just do. Just get up for adoption. And they know, as much as they love the kid, and they love them enough to know that they will be given to a much better family who can provide way more, versus like, you're just going to struggle. If you're with me, you're going to have a very difficult time. Super. And I get that. And I actually respect that, because they have enough self-awareness, and actually requires a lot of maturity to do that. And the fact that I think a lot of people might not have that empathy, because Hayden she was very well off financially, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't take into account mental health, where it's like, you know what, you might have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the mental health to give a child all of the love, because see, that's the thing. People think raising a child is about putting a roof over their head, giving them enough food. But that's the half of it. But the other half is, what about the attention? You don't want to emotionally neglect them, right?
Yeah.
That's the other half of it.
Well, there's people that are like, billionaires that have a bunch of kids, and look at their relationship. I'm not going to say who it is, but
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It does take awareness, and I can see why there's a lot of like, how dare you give up your kid? Yeah, and I do remember when that happened, from the tabloids anyway, or the yellow journalism of like, she gave up custody of her daughter, and maybe because I'm female, and to be fair, I've never had children, I've never given birth, but I do know firsthand from like friends and family members who've had children, those hormones will fuck you up. That is no joke. Okay. Like, I do have hormonal stuff that happens every month where it can fuck me up, and I just, at that level, like, it exponentially worse than what I've had to go through. I just be like, oh, wow. They just need help. But instead of providing help, they get judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lot of women, especially if they have of means, like Hayden, I'm just going to throw a bunch of pills at you, and hopefully there's more than that. And I think it's a testament of how society has failed her, because we don't know enough about postpartum depression. We do not. Society has this idealistic thing about moms, where it's like, yes, as soon as you have a kid, you're just overwhelmed with love, and you will just love this kid. And you don't realize there's a lot of, it brings up a lot of stuff. And we as society, we have not come to the point where it's like, maybe that's not the case, whether it's hormones, whether it's whatever the reason is, give women the help that they need. Instead, you get judgment. They get medicated. And her passing is an indictment of how much we failed her as a society and women in general.
And Neutrogena.
Oh my God. Oh,
you heard about the backlash of Neutrogena?
Oh, of course.
Oh, we could discuss that next episode.
Episode 2 is Neutrogena is on our shit list. Okay.
I haven't used that garbage in years, and I definitely not gonna use that garbage in the future. Well, it looks like we're never gonna get a sponsorship from them. So,
you know what? Fuck them, because I used Neutrogena as a teenager. Well, I've had like very cystic, like really bad cystic acne. And
it's bad for your skin. It just strips all the moisture out of your skin, which is great if you wanted the salicylic acid to be like burning your face.
Fuck Neutrogena. I'll say that. You know what? You can imagine they're like, oh, we were just thinking about the podcast so we could just throw millions of dollars at. And
oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing. We won't take their blood money.
It's blood money.
If you think they're going to give money to us, how they did Hayden, how they cut her, and then how... Man, we're going to talk about that in the next episode, okay?
Yes, yes. This is a teaser for the next episode. Yeah.
Sorry it's such a downer, this episode, but, it's not a happy moment.
But no. Yeah. You know what? Yes. And stay tuned for the next episode, because we'll talk about shit about Neutrogena, maybe James Blunt, allegedly. Yeah. Was it Diana Jenkins? That's not even her real name. From the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We'll connect the dots about that.
All speculation, by the way.
Allegedly. Don't sue. Maybe they can sue us. I mean, there's some receipts anyway. So please stay tuned for that, because I have so much to say. There's so much tea. And you know what? I'm doing this for Hayden because even though she did not want to reveal any names, and I get that. Why? Because she even said it herself. They keep running into the same circles. That's why people don't name names, because it's a small town. And if you're just going to run into them over and over and over again, it's going to create that awkwardness. And I get that. But you know what? She should have. I mean, know what we know now with her passing? She probably should have named names. But let's just say, please stay tuned for our next episode. And if you listen to this, thank you so much. And we really appreciate that. And it's so sad, the sadness. And okay, go ahead, Ken.
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye. We'll see you in episode 2. Bye-bye.
Bye.